That, of course, was the voice of a translator speaking at a WHO briefing earlier today. Now, let's move on to this. And the Vaal Dam is full for the first time in years. This time last year, just by comparison, it was only 57% full. The plentiful rain recently has filled up this vital water source for us here in Gauteng. But the good news doesn't stop there. Other dams are full as well. Let's find out more and how we can hang on to this water, because of course we are a water scarce country. I'm joined by the Director of Communications for the Water and Sanitation Department, Sputnik Ritau. Good evening. Thank you so much for your time. So we hit 100% full for the Vaal Dam yesterday, around yesterday afternoon. How full is it currently?
Well, this morning, Sally, it recorded 101.5%, slightly higher than yesterday at this time.
That is fantastic news. And it hasn't been full since, is it 2018?
It's 2017 since the last time it was full, or rather that it was at 100%. So this is a very major jump in terms of where we are.
And can we thank Tropical Storm Eloise for filling up the dam?
Not really. Eloise actually moved at a different direction in the main. Yes, it did touch on some of the catchments, especially in Mpumalanga. But the Northern Cape and Free State and Northwest catchments were not affected as such. But we have had very good rains anyway, ever since the massive rainfall started, especially since the beginning of January.
And I believe that there are other dams that are at 100% capacity. Can you tell us about them?
Yes, when you look at the fact that our biggest dam in the country, the Harib, is way over 112%. The next biggest one, which is Van der Kloof, which is in the Northern Cape, is at about 111%. And your dams like your Bloemhof have been over 100% for the last couple of weeks anyway. 103, it's been hovering between 103 and 108%, and so on. But when we look also that in the other provinces, we've also got some of the other dams. They may not be as big as the Harib and the Van der Kloof, which have also recharged quite considerably.
I believe Sterkfontein and Grootdraai are also over 100%. Is that right?
Yes, and Sterkfontein is very critical. Remember that it was a reserve dam for the integrated Vaal River system, so we always need to keep it at least 95%. So if it hits 100%, then bravo.
Absolutely. I mean, this is wonderful news, but at the same time, we know that there are provinces still struggling with drought. How is that going?
Yes, it is true. Our main concern, obviously, at the moment is the Eastern Cape. We know that the two systems in the Eastern Cape are not performing very well. The Algoa system that supplies East London and surrounding areas, as well as the Amatole water supply system that supplies mainly your Port Elizabeth and those kinds of areas. They are still struggling. We are not anywhere near what we are seeing with the integrated Vaal River system and your Luvubu system in Limpopo. So we are seeing those kind of places, but we also see, the Ugu area in KZN is still struggling as well. We do have some areas in Limpopo and Northwest that are also still in the throes of the drought that we have seen over the last few years.
And how's the department coping with that? Because speaking to organisations like the Gift of the Givers, they've had to go out to certain areas and drill boreholes again. It seems that it is difficult for the department to reach all those drought-stricken areas and assist.
Well, it is difficult in one way, but it is also difficult because in the main, you find that some of the issues of delivery of water to the end user is frustrated by the fact that infrastructure in local government may not have been developed, or it is in a sorry state. If you look at, for instance, the issue that we see in Kwakwa, where the dam Fikapazo, which is supposed to supply the area with water, has recovered tremendously from where it was a year ago. But we are not able to put water into the pipes because the pipes are either not performing optimally. The water treatment works is not also working to optimum desires. So you've got all of those combinations, as well as the fact that in other areas, infrastructure is not yet developed.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just the rain that falls, it's how we look after it. So looking back at our full dams and the wonderful news about a number of dams, as you've explained, that they are over 100% full, some of them, how do we make sure we make the absolute best use of that water and we don't waste a drop? We already know that the War on Leaks program has had very limited success and we lose something insane like 30% of our water to leaks. What is being done to make sure we hang on to this precious resource as much as we can?
What is very critical is that, we have to work more and more, together as government, but also bring in the private sector, because some of the expertise is lying outside of government. We have to work with COGTA and SALGA and local government to make sure that, the things that have got to be done in terms of delivering from the bulk that we as the Department of Water and Sanitation are able to supply, but take that into the reservoirs and the pipelines that go to the end user. That kind of function has got to come up tremendously. So that is why, even entities like we have, like your MISA, and so on, are going to be very critical for us to be able to do that. The discussions that we are having together with local government with regard to the trainees from the War on Leaks program, obviously we're hoping that we will be able to have a breakthrough there so that we can have those being absorbed in the different municipalities from where they come. But also it's a question of being sure that we can be able to utilize the funding that comes into our government purse, whether it be at local government, so that we can be able to also harness and keep the expertise that we are able to attract from time to time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time and for bringing us the good news that so many of our dams are full. That was the Director of Communication for the Department of Water and Sanitation, Sputnik Ratau.